Good evening and welcome back to the Rising Superstream, where we are doing something a little different, something a little more experimental, pouring ourselves water because we forgot. Today, we're doing a little live action talkie video, a vlog, if you will. Actually, I guess this isn't really a vlog. This is more of a response to recent news. I've also recently been watching Jason Schreier's videos, and I decided, you know what, I could probably do something like what he does, but not as good, and feel decent about it. So this is going to be a one shot, hopefully no editing, talk about what is happening. What is happening is not fucking good, man. So, you may have heard the news. I just got home earlier from buying my physical copy of Rhythm Heaven. And Sony has announced that they are going to completely halt the physical production of games in January 2028. This, of course, comes really shortly after the news that Grand Theft Auto 6 would be digital only on consoles and would only have code in a box retail presence, which is, by the way, bullshit, in case you didn't realize. GTA 6, I know there's like a conception that the physical market is like so puny now that it wouldn't count for anything, but GTA 6 would have sold many millions of units at retail. It was widely expected to be a huge boon to game retailers, and now it's a huge negative in a way for game retailers. Obviously, people are still going to be coming to the store, but staff are now going to have to be explaining why this box doesn't have a disc in it and why there's no other option, among other things. It's not a great situation. Not to mention that a lot of people are going to forgo the store entirely and just buy a digital copy. Now, you might be thinking you don't care a lot about GameStop and GameStop survival, and that's fine. Don't worry. Actually, I don't care about GameStop either. Uh, I have bigger problems for other smaller retailers who admittedly are a pretty small percentage of the market. But anyway, the PlayStation thing, yeah. I guess the flip side of me not caring about GameStop is a small congratulations to GameStop, because as of January 2028, they are all getting promoted to being Nintendo stores, or at least Nintendo slash Funko Pop stores, I guess. So what Sony has said, I'm going to quote here from their PlayStation blog. As consumer preferences and the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinued starting in January 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. So evidently they're going to move forward with some sort of physical download card situation. I sincerely hope we can do away with code in a box bullshit, because as much as I occasionally hear from digital fans that boxes are a waste of resources, which I get, we should probably use some sort of more modern cardboard box instead of using more oil. While I totally get that, oh my god, I've lost my train of thought. Doing one cut is harder than it looks, isn't it? Wait, did I actually lose my train of thought? This is so embarrassing on the first one. Right, code in a box. I hope they do away with code in a box and they transition to something like what Nintendo's doing in Japan, and they have just download cards. Nonetheless, I wish they wouldn't do any of this bullshit at all. Code in the box is just the worst trick, because boy, I can't imagine that people feel very happy thinking they're getting a disc and then not getting a disc. I know it says on the front of the box, but it's in small text and it's fucking bullshit. Anyways, so let's talk about what their announcement means. So, no new physical games on PlayStation consoles starting January 2028. Obviously, that is going to be inclusive of PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, which is frustrating. PlayStation 4 had a good run. That came out in November 2013. So by that time, it will have had 13 years and change, which is like pretty great. I will say there are still a lot of PS4 games coming out now, and it's liable that PS4 games would continue to release at that time. So seems like a shame that that option is disappearing, but PS4 at least had a good run. PS5, it is a little early. PS5 came out in November 2020. Cutting it off January 2028 means you get less than 8 years of physical presence for their games. That's a little frustrating. PlayStation Vita, for reference, released in December 2011 and had physical production end in May 2018. So Vita had a little less than 7 years. Actually, probably just around 7 years, because they probably would have started in summer 2011 to get stuff ready for December. Vita had 7 years. Vita was like a modest success in Japan, but like kind of a failed machine internationally, and it got 7. PS5, meanwhile, is like a huge success, even despite like global economic hardships. They're making money hand over fist, and we're cutting it off at, 8 years. I find that disappointing and frustrating that PS5 is getting cut short. I love that people have still been able to buy games on PS4. I love that Nintendo still is offering the ability for Switch games to be printed for, well, indeterminate. We don't know how long, but I love that people can still get a lot of mileage out of their old consoles. People shouldn't have to move on to new consoles if they don't want to. And it's dope that, the development tools and the development processes are still supported for that. PS5 losing physical early just sucks, man. So like, let's talk about the reality for physical games today. Like, what does that look like? I love physical games. I have lots of physical games. I like loaning them to people. Sometimes I sell them when I don't want them anymore. Sometimes I sell them to friends. Like, these things happen. Recently, a great example of me enjoying physical is Pokopia came out, and Pokopia is like an 8,000 plus yen game in Japan. I'm not going to double check the price right now. And I was able to get it at a store for 7,200 yen, because in Japan, a lot of stores take a chunk out of their cut and offer it as a discount to get you in the door. So I got an over 8,000 yen game for like over 10% off on day one. My wife and I played it for like a month, and then we sold it for like 6,500 yen or something like that. Effectively paying like less than 1,000 yen for like playing a new AAA game for over a month to our heart's content. I had like 20 plus hours in. Whether that's good value to you or not, I don't know. But I was looking at that copy of Pokopia like, I'm never going back to this. And it was really nice to have the option to get 90% of my money back, no questions asked. Obviously, that doesn't apply to all games, but that was just a recent example of how physical games benefited me in a way unique to physical games. That one was actually also a game key card, by the way. Just going to point that out. I'm sure we will talk about those a little later. But even so, game key cards maintain some of the benefits of physical, like being able to sell them, and it really came in clutch right there. Anyway, what's the reality? The reality for physical games, as much as I love them, is bad. It's really bad. It's bad everywhere in the world. It's worse in some regions than in others. In Japan, physical is a little healthier. In North America, it's not good. And then other regions, it's kind of in the middle. I don't have data on Australia and the UK, which are like not the biggest markets by any means, but they're probably like top 10 in the top 10 of markets. And those regions are also regions where you can get discounts on day one physical copies. I would imagine that helps retail. Whereas in North America, ever since like Amazon and Co stopped offering like pre-order discounts, us Canadians and also Americans have been unable to get like meaningful day one discounts on games. It just doesn't really happen as a standard. So obviously North America, I should say, is quite a weak region for it. For anyone who doesn't follow me or anything, I'm currently living in Tokyo, but I am Montrealer, Canada, and I will be back there at some point. So if I start mixing places where I'm living, just that's what's going on. So Matt, so I have a little bit of data here. Matt Piscatella of Circana Reporting, who track US game industry stuff. Go check him out on Blue Sky. He's really awesome. He reported earlier this week, coincidentally, consumer spending in the US on retail game software increased 3% from last year to 1.6 billion US dollars. So that was as of May 2026, I believe. I forgot to write that somewhere. This is gonna be one. I'm not gonna cut this video. I'm not putting cuts in here. Yeah, May 2026. So May 2025, May 2026. That 1 year period. It went up by 3%. Amazing. That's the first time it has gone up since 2009, which is crazy. But even as a physical diehard, like I'm not here to bullshit you or anything. Going up by 3% on like what has been a pretty stable downward trend, it's statistical noise. It's not a real increase that's going to be enduring or matter in any way. We're at $1.6 billion US retail game software spend, down from 2009's peak of 11.5 billion US dollars for the same metric. So that's like almost a 90% decrease since 2009. It's not good. Nonetheless, $1.6 billion is far from $0. One thing I think people should avoid is assuming that like retail is actively like losing money for game companies or anything like that. It's not. They're making comfortable money at retail, less than they used to, unfortunately. Though, the important thing is that they're making likely less at retail. When Capcom sells a $70 copy of Resident Evil Requiem on PlayStation Network, they pay 30%, or on Switch too as well, or on Steam. They pay 30% to Valve, so Valve would take $21, and Capcom would walk away with $49 for that single game sale. At retail, I haven't had access to speaking to publishing people in like quite a few years, so I'm not 100% sure exactly where it is now, but many years ago it would have been like, yeah, Capcom is probably making somewhere around 50% of the game. So on a $70 box, they'd probably be making 30, 35, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but less than they're making it digital. And of course, for first parties, so Nintendo games on Nintendo platforms, PlayStation games on PlayStation platforms, I would say Xbox games on Xbox platforms, but anyway, no, they make 100%, obviously, because they don't have to pay their own fee, right? So a $70 copy of Wolverine is going to net them $70. Anyway, so like, for companies, ideally they want you buying digital, but they are still making money at retail. Like, let's not pretend they're not. Nintendo in particular does very, very well at retail. I have this here. Nintendo digital sales, fiscal year 2025, the digital sales were 53.5% in terms of revenue. Fiscal year 2026, they were 54.6% in terms of revenue. So, you can see that Nintendo is still doing close to half retail. That is huge, like we can see why Nintendo still values retail so much. Whereas like for PlayStation, we know it's not as healthy, and I'm gonna get into some of their numbers right about now. We have two big numbers here I want to get into, because these are like the two numbers that mostly get banded around. First off, Capcom fiscal year 2026 reported 93% of their sales were digital. So what people have read of this is 7% of their sales are physical, which is true. Capcom is not lying about the situation. However, the numbers, the way the data is presented, obscures the facts slightly. And just to be clear, I'm not arguing that physical is healthy, but let's just work through the facts. 93% of their unit sales are digital. What is a unit sale? A unit sale is when you buy a game, a unit of something, right? So if you buy Devil May Cry when it's on sale for $4.99 on the Switch or whatever, that is one unit sold. When you buy Resident Evil Requiem Deluxe Edition for $80 at retail on PS5, that is also one unit sold. These are equal. We can see that one of them is like literally, wait, I can't do math. 16 times the price of the other one, but it's 1 unit. So when they say 93% of their units are digital, bear in mind that most digital units are sold at a lower price. You know, you can also see in Capcom's numbers that 7% physical, right? That does not include their catalog titles. Hang on, I need to. Fool that I am! I didn't pull this one up, and I'm not gonna put a cut in here. You think I'm putting a cut in here? Fiscal year 2026. Yeah, we got it right here in my internet history because I was brushing up. That's not the right one. Hang on. Hang on. This is like the best part of the video. Here we go. And I'll put a picture in if I remember, but I'm not putting any cuts in this video. No way, no how. Okay. Fiscal year 2026. 93% of their games were digital, 7% of their games were physical. Not good. But the margin for revenue is obviously different, though it is obscured. Now, if we flip over to a different metric, 83.7% of their games sold, or their units sold, were catalog titles, which is the term that Capcom uses. And 16.3% of their units sold were new units, which is, we know what new means. Catalog titles are their older titles released in earlier fiscal years. Many of those still have physical copies in production. Most of them do not. Most of their catalog titles obviously don't have physical units in production. So when you look at the fact that 16% of their sales were on new units, and their physical units make up almost half of their new units, you can see that like they are still probably shifting 30 to 40% of, you can go through these numbers on your own, by the way. They are still probably shifting 30 to 40% physical when it comes to their new releases, you know. So like when they're releasing like a Resident Evil Requiem or something like that, they're probably still selling 30+% physical, which is not nothing, and is very different from looking at the big picture of like 93% unit sales digital. Obviously 93% unit sales digital is real, but it's creative numbers to make it look really the way they want it to look. They want digital. They want you to buy digital. They make more money, and you can't sell it and you can't share it, you know? Anyway, the other big number that gets banded around, PlayStation, 85% unit sales digital. It's the same thing. It's the same reporting. It's unit sales. And like when it comes to PlayStation overall, there are so many games that go on sale for $5 or less on PlayStation Network. Like those games are weighed equally with the deluxe versions of games that cost way more, or the average new retail game where the average price is probably, I don't know, it depends. There's a lot, there are quite a few sub 60s. There are increasingly many subs, many above 60 as well. So whatever, it's probably somewhere around $60 on average. But yeah, 85% unit sales digital. Again, kind of obscuring that the average price of a game is higher at retail and stuff like that. These aren't vibrant physical numbers, and I'm not trying to convince you that physical's making a comeback or anything like that. But I do think it's worth scrutinizing the figures that get thrown around a lot, because it's really not as simple as 85% of the stuff on PlayStation is digital. I will also say that people have dug into that 85% number, and they do some creative accounting when it comes to microtransactions and DLC stuff. It seems like they might be counting those as units as well, like units of like a DLC counts as like a game, when of course that's like not even something you could get at retail in the first place. And then it seems people have made the point that it seems like they're also including microtransaction purchases. So like if you buy, 2,000 who gives a fuck coins for Genshin Impact, like that in some way is getting tallied in. We don't really know, and I didn't dig into it too deeply, so I don't want to stand by that as like a hard fact, but a lot of people who are smarter than me about this seem to believe this, so I don't think there's nothing there. Anyway, not the point. The point is, I do think they're trying to make the picture look rosy for digital, where it is rosy for digital, but they're trying to make it look rosier than it is. So Nintendo does very well at retail, right? Like we talked about before, like almost 50% at retail, which is crazy. And they do like a disproportionately large amount in Japan, which is unusual because Japan's population is like so much smaller than North America. But hey, Nintendo, you know, they have two cartridges. They have game key carts, which are much cheaper to manufacture because they don't really have any game data on them. I believe they're like 4 gig capacity carts or something, but they don't really use it. They just, you know, and then they have the 64 gig carts, which they use for games, the ones that are infamously propelling the prices to be a little bit higher. I have some internal numbers that I have heard from people, and like Switch 2 64 gig carts cost like more than triple what Sony is paying for like a single Blu-ray, like comfortable. And when I say a cart or a Blu-ray, I don't just mean the physical thing. I don't just mean this guy. When I say a cart, I mean like the full the package that goes at retail. When you get a physical game done with Nintendo or PlayStation, because they manufacture them, you don't manufacture them. Um, you don't have an option for a box or like the paper insert. You have options for manuals and whatever else you want to put in the game. Do you want to put a Zack Fair Magic the Gathering card in? You can. But to be clear, when I say the cost of a disc, the cost of a cart, it's inclusive of the box, the associated packaging and stuff like that. Anyway, for Switch 2, it's like more than triple what Sony's paying. And Sony, we know from leaks, this is information that I'm more comfortable sharing. They're kind of in like the $5 range for like per unit of like dual layer Blu-ray disc. And yeah, I don't want to give out the Switch 2 number. I've heard from industry friends because I don't want to potentially, it's like very NDA'd information, um, you know, but it's expensive. Last generation, there were leaks that the Switch 2 Switch 1 32 gig carts cost over $15 to manufacture. That's true. So food for thought when we're discussing how expensive the 64 gig faster carts are. They are not cheap, is all I will say. And yet, Nintendo still has enough success at retail that they think it's worthwhile, but Sony would rather not. Worth mentioning in this section that like Sony is at the apex of their profitability. I did not double check this fact, so maybe it's not a fact, but I saw someone express that last year Sony's revenue, which I believe was the all-time year for them, apparently was greater than all PS2 years combined. Just to give you an indication of how much money Sony is making, like hand over fist. So I find it very regrettable that they're like at the peak of their profitability and they're like, let's get rid of this. Actually, obviously the writing's on the wall. Like physical's days have been numbered for quite a while, right? But the pace at which it is happening is pretty aggravating. I think it feels like they're using a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel. So let's talk a little bit about why is this bad, Liam? I don't get it. Why is it bad? I like digital games. It is bad, you know. I hear you. You like digital games. That's great, but like, don't you want your neighbor to be able to get a good deal on stuff? Like, just because you like paying for expensive digital games doesn't mean we shouldn't want other people in our communities to be able to like have a good deal on stuff. But anyway, so like used market is probably like the biggest and most immediate thing for people, not being able to like sell games or buy games used. Like that sucks, like often if you buy a new game, often you're able to sell it back to either a store or a person for like 70% of its value for like the next maybe 3 to 6 months, and then beyond that, like, your $60 game will eventually turn into a $30 game or a $20 game. If you're lucky, it might keep its value a little higher, but like, we're not in the buying new games business for investment anyway. But like something is better than nothing, right? Like, being able to trade games too. Like I got into a game swapping community years ago, and it was nice. It was nice to have all these games that I had no interest in that I could like swap for other shit. Like, guess what? Owning physical things is nice if you've got the space for it. I understand that can be a little cumbersome, and that's not for anyone, for everyone. If your life is a little more transient, if you're moving all the time, like I get it. Or like if you use digital as a means to save money because you're buying like cheap digital games rather than new titles, totally get it. Like I'm not trying to be critical of that. I think there are valid reasons to be interested in digital. So I guess I'm more talking to the people who are just happy to pay $60 on day one, and like convenience is the only thing. No, you know what? I'm not even talking to those people. I think I'm just talking to the people who are like on Twitter, like aggressively, like get with the times, like it's digital now. Stop crying over physical. Like, come on. Come on. Let's like have some sympathy for our neighbors and the people around us. So also complete loss of retailer discounts. This one sucks. So in the UK, in Australia, in Japan, I mentioned this a little bit before, like 99% of the time, you can go to a store on day one and you can buy the game for cheaper than MSRP, which is going to be cheaper than digital. Like, that's just how it is. This copy of Rhythm Heaven, I think I paid 5,500 yen for it, down from 6,500 or whatever the MSRP is. Like a like really solid day one savings. Like it's not going to be cheaper than that used for another couple months. And impatient person that I am, I want it now. So like that sucks. But then also like, America gets some of this after the time. Canada sadly gets like fuck all nowadays. But like America, every now and then I see that Target's like, yeah, any three of these games for like $50, go for it. You want two like new games for $60? Sure, take your pick. Like sometimes they do that, and as a Canadian, I'm so jealous. I'm like, man, fuck you guys. You got good shit over there. Give me some of that. And then of course, just holiday deals, like being able to buy some desirable games for $20 at the holiday, like that happens. That's common. As of 2028, that will be gone for PlayStation, and that fucking sucks, dude. Like, I don't know how else to say that. That fucking sucks. Like, we're just losing affordability. We're losing situations where retailers could choose to take a hit on their end to make it more affordable for customers. I'm not saying like Walmart or Target are the good guys, but sometimes capitalism worked out in a way where we got a deal every now and then. That sucks. Yeah, I think gaming affordability is in a fucked up spot. A few years ago, I would have said gaming is as affordable as it's ever been before AI bullshit ate up like the entire hardware market, and like that. I think gaming software. I'm gonna put an asterisk on this sentence. I think like gaming software is at a very affordable place, which is to say there are unbelievable quantities of games releasing at like $30 and less that are just like banger software left and right. Like there's so much good stuff coming out at low prices. There's so much free stuff out there. Like you can play for your entire lifetime without ever buying a $60 game, honestly. The asterisk on that affordability is like, unfortunately, yeah, the prices on new AAA and stuff like that have ticked up a little bit, which I don't like. Just to be clear, I don't like that. Especially like in Japan, I'm pretty lucky. The prices are expensive here. If you're looking at the exchange rate from Japan, by the way, and you're like, that game should be 12,000 yen. No, fuck you. You don't understand. Wages are not good here. Like the prices of games here are expensive for wages here. Similar, the prices in Canada are the like ultimate ultra fucked. Canada and Australia, we have it bad. We don't have it the worst, actually. There are other regions of the world like Argentina and shit where like forget buying new games. It's just not possible. But we have it bad. America has it pretty decent. Anyway, I don't know. I've lost track of what affordability, right? Affordability in games outside of like brand new AAA stuff is like pretty good, but affordability for AAA stuff and just new stuff in general is going to get a whole lot fucking worse when when it's all digital. Physical is like kind of the last lever that consumers have to like adjust the prices of games. If something bombs or something does poorly, we're able to get a nice deal. If we buy and sell physical copies of games, the price of a game goes down, which can sometimes play into retailer discounts as well. You know, it's all we really have as consumers to inform and change the market. And losing that lever, it fucking sucks. We're just gonna have the prices that publishers put down, and like people have tracked this. Big publishers like Sony have been pulling away from doing deeper discounts on their games for quite a while because, to be frank, they see Nintendo, they see how it works. Like, you don't need to massively discount your games as much as was previously thought. Or I guess I should say the industry was a different place 10 plus years ago, and that the race to the bottom was able to encourage a lot of fast cash in an environment where that worked. But now we're in an environment where companies, like, fast cash isn't the working thing. They need enduring big money. And 90% off sales from PlayStation are never anything we're ever going to see again. Intergalactic will come out, and we'll be lucky to see that game hit a 50% off sale within I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. Like, that's just how it's going to be. That's how it is with Nintendo. Like, when it comes to digital, I think they cap out at 30% off. Fucking sucks. Thankfully, they still have physical, so it's very easy to acquire their new $60 or $70 games, or whatever the fuck Mario Kart World costs, for like comfortably $20 less or more if you give it a little bit of time. I mean, time's the important thing, obviously not on day one, but we're losing that lever, and I really resent that. Nintendo, doesn't have a perfect record with this. Nintendo has they have physical cartridges, which are quite expensive, and then they also have game key cards. Those are the ones with the little, I don't know if you can see this, with the little key on them. We got Pragmata here. These don't have a full game on them. You put them in the machine, and then you have to. It prompts a download for the game that is region agnostic and account agnostic. So you don't need an account or anything like that, and you can still give them to people. You can still sell them. You can still loan them, which is still nice. It is a halfway that I am accepting but not loving. I don't, but I would prefer to have a game key card Pragmata than a digital Pragmata. If I had to pick, I could have bought a disc for PlayStation, but really, really wanted to see that AAA game in on my Switch too. So this is how we ended up. I would infinitely prefer if PlayStation was going to do data discs, but the thing is, Sony doesn't stand to save as much, whereas Nintendo has expensive 64 gig carts, and then they can really cut costs by offering game key cards to their partners who don't want to take such a hit on their games. Sony's paying around, so for Sony it's like around $5 for their dual layer Blu-ray disc package. They can't really cut that down much. Like, it could be like a single layer Blu-ray data disc, but like that's gonna cost only marginally less than the current situation. So Sony doesn't have a good way to really like offer a cheaper physical storage media. If they've deemed that this disc is too expensive and they want to cut it off, then is what it is. It's probably not about the disc being too expensive, honestly. It's probably more about accelerating the digital future to time it with the PlayStation 6. I think that's like the big thing here. So PlayStation. So talking harm. Let me go through this in order. Does this affect game preservation? So like organizations like the Video Game History Museum. God, I can't remember their name. Frank Cifaldi's Video Game History Foundation, and stuff like that. Does this harm game preservation? No more discs, so of course this harms game. No, it doesn't really harm. Actually, it doesn't really harm game preservation that much. This is not a point for digital, but rather I do read up on this stuff a lot, and video game preservationists have been clear time and time again that no, games being digital only doesn't really affect the way game preservation operates. A disc slash cartridge is a great media for consumers. It's relatively cheap, easy to distribute, and easy to have reading mechanisms for it as well. But when you're doing real archival, you tend to want the games on like the most enduring media you can, and like not necessarily the carts. And also like the carts and the discs pose their own inconveniences. Like, carts, like Switch carts are like proprietary, right? Like you would probably be better off having the files backed up in some way on a more enduring thing, like a solid state drive or something like that. Generally, game archival is done in a digital state anyway, and like that it's the same thing for like game piracy as well. Like it's digital. Guess what? Like every file, every DLC that's gone up on PSN, yeah, it's all archived. It's all archived. It's all piracy available as well. Like whether a game exists on a disc or not, actually, thankfully, doesn't really do much against preservation. However, it does do a lot against access because, of course, like, having discs, like this is the consumer friendly side of that, means like you can distribute them, you can lend them to people, you can, recently, like libraries, I say recently, I mean like within the last 10 years, like libraries have started buying video games a lot. If you live in a major city anywhere, check your local libraries. When I was in Montreal a few years ago, my local library had a small but respectable collection of games. It was not bad. But the larger library, the biggest library in Montreal, which I love going to, by the way, Le Grand Bibliothèque, for any Montrealers out there, has an insane selection of games. They have something like 1,600 plus games. I haven't checked in a while because I'm not living in Montreal right now. But like they have a mad selection of games, and they got new shit. Like I remember taking out The Last of Us Part 1, the PS5 remake of The Last of Us. I remember taking that out from the library there like a week after it came out, which was lovely. Like no, they really have a lot of stuff, and unfortunately, like while this doesn't harm game preservation, it does harm game access. And like guess what? As of January 2028, like yeah, there's not going to be any new PS5 or PS4 or PS6 games in libraries, and that fucking sucks. This also, we want more people going to libraries. You might think, Liam, you don't really strike me as a library fan, but I like libraries a lot. Actually, in Montreal, I often go and hang out at the Grand Bibliothèque, and I just read shit, or I bring my Switch and I just try different games that I've never tried. I do actually like libraries quite a bit. Libraries in Japan kind of suck, by the way. But this unfortunately hurts them, and like now, people who might have gone to libraries to get, PlayStation 5 games for themselves, like guess what? If they go up to PS6, they're not going to be going to the library to get PS6 games. I mean, this isn't like a large amount of people. I'm not trying to say this is a catastrophe for libraries or anything, but there's probably a non-zero amount of people who are going to move from PS5 to PS6 and who are never going to go to the library to rent games again. And that sucks. And that doesn't just suck for the library, but that sucks for them because they could be borrowing games for free as well. Libraries are good. Support your local library. Go check out your local library. Seriously, they might have games. They might have more. They might have books. Books are real good. The other, like, probably like some of the biggest negatives though with losing digital, as if like these weren't big enough negatives, is like there is such a lack of like clear rules and regulation around like digital licenses, digital license manipulation, end of life, stuff like that. So like, when you die, like you're not supposed to give your Steam account to anyone. Like you're not supposed to. That's not what you're supposed to do. Like if you follow the rule of the law, you're not supposed to. And there's no infrastructure in place to like regain a dead person's account, or like for a person to be like, I'm going to die, please move all my licenses over to this account or someone else's account or something like that. That infrastructure doesn't exist. And obviously it would be ripe for abuse if it ever did exist. But like digital license manipulation is important. Like we should have a measure of control over our digital licenses that we purchased. And like a lot of storefronts don't even offer like loaning and stuff like that. Steam has the family sharing. Nintendo has a limited sharing as well that I think we'll talk about a little bit later. But PlayStation's got fuck all. And like PlayStation has issues with like account bans and stuff that we will also talk about later that have turned into people like losing their accounts, which is a fucking nightmare. So what could Sony have done better about this announcement? I mentioned this earlier, but like this really feels like a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel situation. I think like the number one thing they could have done is not do it, right? But like the writing was on the wall. I think regardless of how much we love physical or not, like the days for physical were numbered. This is like not a mystery, right? There was a floor that physical sales were going to hit eventually. We're not there yet. It would probably still go lower. And some people were hoping that if that floor wasn't too low, physical would get to coast for longer, right? But I think with PlayStation, we saw the writing on the wall pretty early where, you know, they had the disc version and the non-disc version. And then like option. And now they only sell the only current models of PlayStation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Pro and the default do not come with a disc drive by default. You need to, you know, buy an add-on disc drive, which is sucky, but at least you have that option. That is still like a really valuable option to have, you know. I think it became clear at that point, though, that like, yeah, PS6 probably not going to default to having a disc drive. Of course, we saw that on Xbox as well, where Series S didn't have a disc drive and never got an option for it, which is even worse. So PS6 was not going to have a disc drive. That was pretty obvious, but like, I think a lot of people thought there would still be an optional one. I actually think that's like something that Sony could do to save a marginal amount of face right now, even if they're not ready to unveil PS6 and stuff like that. Like, I think people would take a lot of comfort in them saying, hey, PS6 will have an optional disc drive attachment that you can buy. And so you can still play your PS4 and your PS5 games on it. I think people would take a lot of comfort in that. They're not changing architecture for PS6 from PS5. So it's like very evident that PS6 is going to be able to play your digital PS4 and PS5 games no problem. Nobody wants to hit the reset button on that infrastructure. Nobody wants to reset anyone's collections anymore, because the moment you hit that reset button is the moment where people are going to realize they have a choice and they can be like, oh, well, if my library's going to, you know, kind of be in the past now, maybe I'll jump over to the Switch 2 or worse, go to PC. That's the real fear for PlayStation now. But I think you know what would have been a good thing was announcing that PS6 will have some form of disc support. It might not. That's the really unfortunate thing is like a lot of people thought, well, it'll probably have no disc drive with an optional disc drive. But now that I think it's pretty clear that PS6 is not going to have discs at all, that question's up in the air. Will they even have an optional disc drive? Again, I think they should announce something. I think they should do something there so that people like me at least feel comfortable with the idea that, well, at least my fucking library of PS4 and PS5 games will work there. If they don't, I don't know. I'm going to, hypocrite that I am, I may end up with a PS6 in the future still, but like, no, I'm going to like it. Probably going to do a whole lot less buying games on PlayStation. What I also think they could have done is not cut off PS4 and PS5 from physical. Like, PS4, I get it. Like, I love that people have been able to, you know, get so much value out of their PS4, but like, I get it. PS4's old now. You know, that could have been time and we would have all went, oh, that sucks. But hey, PS5 still got physical. PS5 getting cut off from physical feels early. Like, for where we are now, for how long PS4 got, for how long PS3 got. And then again, like Vita had 7 years. PS5 only gets 8, even though it's like a crazy success. I think that's a shame. I don't think they like breached the social contract or anything here. Like we all knew it would end eventually. I just think most people didn't, myself included, didn't think PS5 was going to get cut off like soon. But I think it's pretty evident why they're doing this, and it's probably to not make bad optics for PlayStation 6, you know? Sometime in either late 2027 or 2028, probably 2028, PlayStation 6 is going to be coming out in some way, shape, or form. And people are going to be at the store. They're going to be trying to buy a PS6 and they're going to want to buy a game with it. They are going to see that there are PS5 game on shelf, but not PS6 game, and they're going to ask why there no PS5 game, and it would look, or why there no PS6 game, and it would look a whole lot worse if Sony had, say, Spider-Man 3, um, and there was PS5 copies of Spider-Man 3, which launched the day PS6 came out, but there was no PS6 copy. It would look really bad for the PS6, right? It wouldn't be great. People would be buying their new PS6 and they would be like, "Oh, I want the physical Spider-Man PS5, but there's because I can't get a PS6 one, but there's no disc drive for the PS6, so also why isn't there a PS6 version in the first place, you know?" And then you get to the question of like a couple years into PS6, like PS5 discs are still going, like why, like people would choose to buy PS5 discs, you know? So I think cutting it off from a ruthless capitalistic standpoint, obviously the right choice. I hate it. I fucking hate it, dudes. Um, it sucks ass. Like it's really awful. But I think this was obviously done so early to not make PS6 look bad, to improve the optics for PS6 once that hits shelves, you know. I think that's like largely what it comes down to. I think like obviously there's more money to be made selling digital than physical, but like Sony has a nightmare situation on their hands with PlayStation 6 where like the rumored bill of materials for PlayStation 6, man, bill of materials being like the costs of all the components, the rumored bill of materials for that thing like past 800 US dollars. Like that's not going to be a cheap machine. They're going to fight like hell to keep the MSRP under $1,000, and it's going to be tough for them to do that in the first place. They're going to take a hit on each unit, like, you know, and we're still going to see a price that's like six, seven, eight, $900. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really, really bad. The price of the PS6, and uh, this video has been ruthlessly attacking Sony because I think they deserve it. But the one bit of sympathy I have for them is this fucking AI hardware market has like ruined things and has put console manufacturers in like a brutal situation. You know, Sony's gonna be selling, you know, their 700 800 plus dollar machine against the Switch 2, which will probably be 550 or 600 at that point, if not more. I mean, we'll fucking see how it goes, right? Maybe that'll be $900. But you know, they're in a brutal situation and they need to not have any bad optics for PS6. So I think unfortunately getting this out of the way early, like well before PS6 is even announced, and ensuring that there's not going to be a situation where users are going to the store and they're seeing new versions of PS5 games but no PS6 version. Like they don't want that to exist, and like preventing that is smart. I hate it, but it is smart. So the minimum things I think they could have done though, not cutting off those other consoles and then announcing just some vague plan for a disc drive for PS6. Just like at least have that olive branch for people who do love physical, for people who have physical libraries, who have bought into your ecosystem. Like, I don't love the idea. In my head, I was like, okay, well, PS6 is going to be like a fucking $1,000. At least I'll be able to sell my PS5 for like $500. And, you know, it'll all come out in the wash. And I'll still pay a lot for the PS6, but then I'll have it and I'll buy whatever disk drive and that'll be it. But now it's like, is there even going to be a disk drive? Because of the no confirmation, I'm now like, okay, so do I have to keep my PS5 if I want to keep using discs now? Because I don't love the idea of having to keep my PS5 in addition to whatever new machine. Um, that fucking sucks. I still have my PS4 Pro in the closet in Montreal so I can play PT and a couple other esoteric PS4 only features. I would rather not. I would rather be able to just do it all on my PS5. Like I would rather be able to do all my PS5 stuff on my PS6, but hey, my camera, my iPhone storage is full right now. So this next part of the video is going to be audio only, I fear. But I'm still not going to put a cut in here. That's how we're going to do it. Right now, I am uploading that video to Google Drive in real time. I'm not panicking. Oh my God, it's 5.5 gigabytes this video. I have a iPhone SE3 with 64 gigabytes of storage. So fuck, there may be no more video. This may be the end of the video. 50 minutes in. Let's keep going. What do I expect going forward? If Sony is gonna like fuck us like this, what do I expect from them at like minimum? To be clear, I'm not confident they will do this stuff. I have low faith that they will. But if you're gonna like fuck us on this, if you're gonna force us to go digital only, and just like take the worst deal ever, there are some minimum things I would like, frankly. Like first and foremost, I sincerely expect some sort of digital lending program or some sort of official library sharing. So of course, Steam, has the Steam family where you can have a couple users that you can share your whole library with. There's some rules, but like it's pretty darn good. Nintendo has a much more limited version of this where if someone else is in your Nintendo Switch Online family plan and they are local to you, like, and they are nearby, you can share your digital games with them. Nintendo's is very limited, but I mean, fuck, at least they have something. At least I can buy a digital game on my Switch and share it with my wife. That's really nice, and she can play it on the go and stuff. PlayStation, I think, needs to make some sort of official version of this. And I don't mean any of this like these like log into your friend's account on your console bullshit. Like not workarounds, not anything like that. You guys want to force us to have a digital library? Like fucking support the digital library in having like basic lending and sharing features. I have to confess, I'm like very out of the loop on like what the Xbox library features are. I haven't had an Xbox since like early mid Xbox One, so this is just a my B here. I'm not exactly sure on where Xbox is at here. I don't think they have these features either. And frankly, I would expect them to get with it as well. It's ridiculous. If we're going to all digital, like we need to have better control over our digital purchases. It is so like I'm not saying anything you haven't heard before, but like it's it's just annoying to not have those things and to not have a choice either. Again, Steam and Nintendo have versions of this, so at minimum, I expect some version of this from PlayStation. Next, a robust return process. Right now, PlayStation and Nintendo's return process is fucking pick a god and pray, right? Like they like give you one gimme on your account, and then beyond that, it's like I don't know. Did you get a customer service rep on a good day? It's and most of the time you're not going to be able to make any returns happen. Steam has a robust return system. You can purchase a game, you can play it for up to 2 hours, and you can return it as long as you didn't go over that 2 hour window. It is a system that I have seen people criticize as overly generous because you can basically use it to demo games. As someone who has a Steam game and like you can finish everything in my game in like 2 hours if you're crazy good at it, I doubt you will, but like, I don't care. Like the return policy is good and very consumer friendly, and I think it should be a thing. I don't think people should abuse it. So, they could probably cut this down to like an hour or even half an hour, and I think it would still be a gargantuan improvement on the bullshit that it is now. At least now, if you buy a retail game and you turn out to not like it, you can usually easily flip it for a huge percentage of what you just bought it for. Losing that option is gonna fucking suck. Like it's gonna fucking suck real hard. One thing that makes me pessimistic about this is, of course, PlayStation has PlayStation Plus, and they have 3 tiers of it. PlayStation Plus Premium, the highest, most expensive tier, and boy, it's expensive in some regions. In Canada, it's crazy. Um, PlayStation Plus Premium, one of the things that they offer on there is game trials. So for a limited amount of time, you can test out, basically you'd get to download the full game and play it for whatever the publisher said. So some of the game trials are only half an hour long. Some of them are up to 4 hours long. The publisher kind of gets a say in what the timing is, which is fine, honestly. It's a great feature. I've actually used that PlayStation Plus feature many times to try out games I've been interested in. And it has helped me a few times avoid buying games that I in the end didn't really enjoy all that much. On the flip side, it has helped me make more informed decisions about games I want to buy. I would hope, I would wish that we would get something comparable to that for all users, at very least all PS Plus users, not just a premium tier thing. But even besides that, returns. We need better, more friendly returns if we're going to be digital only. Again, physical, you can just fucking sell. That's nice. But digital, you're just fucked. Yeah. Lastly, I expect them to improve their security and process for reacquiring compromised accounts. So right now, if someone compromises your account, if someone, or as people say, hacks your account, but they use social engineering to get your password and get in, right? Right now, there are situations where people attempting to recover their accounts get their entire account banned for suspicious activity by PlayStation. This is something that still occasionally happens. It used to happen more, and it's fucking insane. If you go searching for it on the internet, you will find these stories. You will find these people who have had their accounts compromised and who have, during the process of trying to legitimately recover their account, said certain things to PlayStation support. I don't mean like attacking them or anything. And that has turned into a situation where PlayStation support has deemed it suspicious and has simply banned the account. And they just lost everything they purchased. And this has happened to a couple bigger like YouTubers and stuff. I think it happened to Greg Miller at some point. Anyway, I can't quite recall the names completely. And like they were able to get their accounts reinstated because they have lots of clout. But like the average person this happens to, like there's no account reinstatement process. This notion that you can just fucking lose your account if you get, your account compromised, it's a rare occurrence, but like if everything's going to be digital, like you got to get even better on this, It should not be something that we're still hearing about in 2026, really. I mean, it shouldn't be happening now either, don't get me wrong. But like even more so. I don't have faith that that's where we're headed, though. I think that like every company under the sun wants to replace all their customer support staff with the cheapest customer support staff possible, and then just fucking AI agents. So I don't know. I don't have faith that Sony's going to do any of these things. These things that I think are like reasonable minimums for digital only, some sort of digital lending, a better return process, and improving the process for reacquiring a compromised account. Like I don't I don't necessarily think Sony's going to offer any of them. And I say they're the minimum, but like these aren't guarantees. These are just things that it's like if you're going to fuck us, like you got to give us something, guys, please. I guess this is the bargaining phase, right? Like angry bargaining. Um, what can we do about it? What can we do about this whole situation? Man, I don't know. Stop buying PlayStation products. PS Plus is like the biggest thing that they care about. It's a huge moneymaker. You can reduce your subscription or cancel your subscription entirely. I actually think I'm gonna do that. Um, don't know if it's gonna make a difference. Hypocrite that I am, like I'm not gonna not use my PS5. Like, there are disc games coming up I would like to get, like Silent Hill Townfall. Hypocrite that I am, I will probably still be here. I will probably still be playing games. I will probably still be making videos about games that exist on the platform. So, what can I do? I don't know. What can we do? I don't know. The answer is go fucking cold turkey. And that's the bit where it's like, well, don't I look really pathetic for not being willing to put aside my lifelong hobby, on PlayStation. Hypocrite that I am. I could have just skipped this section, but I need to, you know, say that myself so that when I inevitably do a video for a game on a PlayStation, um, people can at least see that I understand. I understand that I'm not helping. What we can do for free, keep up social pressure, like send emails, reply to all their tweets and all their social media channels with pressure about discs. You can try signing petitions. There's a couple petitions. There's like a really big petition that Video Games Plus, online Canadian retailer Video Games Plus was passing around. You can try filling out a petition, but I don't know, man. There's probably nothing we can do, but we should let them show us that it's the case before we give up completely. I don't want to say that it's not possible to change things. Sony has so much money to save by cutting off physical completely, and they have so much more money to make by cutting off physical completely. Also when they cut it off, like, it's not going to be easy to spin it back up. They have to operate machinery and buildings and factory and specialized staff to make this stuff happen. They have distribution channels and networks that are going to be compromised and lost once they cut off physical, once they even start the process of cutting off physical, which is presumably going to be before January 2028. Once that stuff is lost, it will not be easy to return, and it will never come back. The only time to do anything about it is more or less right now, within the next, month, within the next 2 weeks. Other than that, like, it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late after that. And I don't think it's happening. I feel pessimistic about this one. I'll say what I said before. We probably can't do anything. But before we give up completely, we should at least let them show us that it's the case, that they indeed mean to see all of our voices, to hear all of our voices, and to still say no. We should at least make them do that instead of just giving up on the face of it. Yeah. I don't know. Keep up the pressure. I guess that's all we can really do. In the past, of course, they wanted to shut down the PS3 and the Vita and the PSP stores many years ago, and they did cave to social pressure on that one, and the PS3 and Vita stores were spared. Of course, actually, I'm not going to really spend much time on this right now, but accompanying this disc. No more disc news was that PS3 and Vita are finally getting shut down all these years later. We did buy some extra time on those ones, which was nice. It gave me the opportunity to buy a lot more Vita games. But I feel like this is a much bigger deal than that one, and I don't feel optimistic about the fact that we can turn this one around. But like I said, we shouldn't give up on it. We should make our voices be heard, and we should let them tell us no. Because we'll see, man. And by the way, when I say let them tell us no, I don't mean and happily accept that outcome. I just mean, like, we're asking them if they really want to do the bad thing, and they should have to double down. They should have to be like, yeah, actually, we're doing the bad thing if we want to accept it at all. I don't know what I'm saying with that. That probably sounds silly. Don't think about it too hard. But also don't give up yet. Last thing you can do is, like, buy physical while you still can. If you're worried about your personal access to games, or books or movies or music, if you're worried about your ability to access these things, your ability to share these things, like, buy physical while you can. The physical market still exists now. The physical market still exists on Nintendo. Asterisk game key cards are a thing, and you may hate those, and that's fine. I totally understand. This shit does still exist. It's not all gone yet. Like I said, on Nintendo, they're still close to 50% of their revenue at retail. Like, buy the games you like on Switch 2 at retail. show Nintendo that, yeah, another physical generation is going to be worth it for Switch 3. Like, uh that's still possible, you know. Eh, Physical's not on a healthy trajectory, and I'm not trying to pretend that it is. But like, buy physical while you still can, you know. Support physical where you can. Creators still want to make physical things. Um, you know, own the things that you like. Share them with your friends, you know. Maybe they'll see why physical's a good thing. Anyway, if you don't want to support Amazon or GameStop in buying physical, which might be what you were thinking, like where am I supposed to buy games if not Amazon or GameStop? Or I guess in the US, maybe like Target or Walmart or whatever. Don't want to support those stores. I do not have a referral link for these guys. I am recommending them out of the uh, love of the game. But please check out Canadian retailer Video Games Plus. Um, they're Canadian on they have an in-person store that you probably can't go to, but they sell games at MSRP. They offer free shipping if you order, I think it's 75 Canadian dollars or more worth of product at once. It's a lower number for US dollars, but I don't remember what that is because it's not relevant to me. But yeah, like free shipping, MSRP, supporting a small company who believes very much in physical. They have an exclusive physical on the Bomberman collection on Switch 2, for example, right now, because they are actively also trying to fight to make physical stuff happen. They have a point system where if you buy enough, you get like $5 vouchers here and there. It's not like a crazy good point system or anything, but like, if you want physical games and you don't want to support all those big retailers, please check out Video Games Plus. They're good people, and they're still a good option. The free shipping extends to America, by the way, so like that is also a thing. Not fast shipping, mind you. It goes at the speed it goes, but it is free. So anyway, with that, I think this is gonna wrap up. Sadly, we're not getting video back. My iPhone has only uploaded like, looks like 5 to 10% of the video. Fuck. So, we're gonna go out of this not with a bang, but with a hell of a whimper. I mean, that's like most of my videos, right? Um, yeah, we're losing physical on PlayStation forever. That sucks. It's truly end of an era in what feels like a really different way. I was pretty gutted when like they announced end of physical production for Vita and like end of the ability to ship games on Vita and stuff like that. And like when it happened for PS3, I was sad, but like, we had PS4, it was fine. Um this one hits a little different. I don't love PS5 like I did Vita or anything like that. Uh but this isn't just about PS5. Like, this is about no more PlayStation discs forever. Uh, And that hits different because I'm 33 years old and I don't love the idea that for hopefully 50 plus years of the rest of my life, that's just gone. That just doesn't exist anymore. Like, that sucks. you know as a reminder to everyone, if you have old consoles or anything like that, fucking mod them. Like, set them up so that you can play copies that you found completely legally online from lending links that people have distributed to you. Like, set that shit up. Especially like old games that are, no longer sold. Yes, this is a pro piracy message here at the end, in case you're wondering what I'm saying. Like, if companies aren't distributing or selling games anymore, fucking pirate them. No one cares. Like, seriously, it's fucking fine. I'm not saying go out and pirate the latest AAA games or whatever. Like, buy new games where you can if you have the means. And no, I'm not talking to you, child from Argentina. You're allowed to pirate every game you want. But like, no one cares when it comes to old games. If we're, losing access to stuff forever, like, don't let companies tell you what art you can and can't consume. Support your local libraries. They exist to proliferate art and information freely to your communities. Support your neighbors and their ability to get cheaper and affordable media and games, and support physical where you can. Buy the stuff you love, and hopefully you'll have it for a long time.